It's always a party at Patchworks. Let's get this party started. Woot, woot. Hi, everyone. This is Julie from Patchworks, and I am so excited to be joining you here tonight on Thursday, August 5th. We've lots of fun things to share with you today and lots of fun things to talk about. So today we are meeting for Must Sew TV with our We Heart Tula Club, and we are going to be sharing with you a little bit about the block that we're talking about, as well as where we're going next. So what we're going to do first is I want to show you the fabric that you are going to be getting in this particular month's pack. So let's take a look overhead and see what we have. So we have some really great purples and greens, and purple and green is actually the most popular color combination for quilters in Wisconsin. Did you know that? So we have here two minerals prints here. We have the palms, and we have a Tula solid. And in the green, we have the fairy dust and lime, another mineral, palms, and another solid. So this is block 8. And Frank, I'm going to have you show us the graphic for block 8 again. So you can see here block 8, and this is Julie's graphic. She has some really great tips and tricks and a great video that Tammy is going to be sharing. So Tammy's with us tonight, and she can let me know if you have any questions along the way. But she is going to be sharing a tidbit from the Nebula Facebook group Quilt Along, and this has all of the links to her video for the tips and tricks along the way. The tool that you are going to be using this month is the Super Sidekick or the regular Sidekick. You'll be able to use the regular Sidekick if you only have that one available, as the shapes that we're going to be using are super small. This is probably the pieciest block that we've had so far, and that's all right because we've learned all sorts of skills along the way, and I know you can do this. So check out Julie's videos because she has some really great tips and tricks on that. Make sure to share your progress along the way, and I am so excited as we are continuing along this way. So what we're going to talk about right now is I've had several of our customers ask if we have finishing kits available. We do have finishing kits available that we can make for you, or we can also help you custom choose a finishing kit. So here the quilt as originally designed with the queen size. Let me just open this up here and we can take a peek at the insides. So Frank, let's look at it overhead. And we have here the fairy dust in cream here. I love this fabric. I just want to eat it. I remember when Tula first released this particular fabric, she had told me, she said, Julie, she's like, make sure you order a lot of this fabric. This is when it came out, I believe, with Pinkerville. She said, because fairy dust, this is very, very favorite. And she's like, we're going to use it in everything. You need to make sure to order a lot of it. And so not only did we order a lot then, but we've continued to carry it. Then we have the rainbow hexie here, which is so pretty. We have the fairy dust in lavender. We have the wildflower with the lavender and gray. We have the hexie with the dove rainbow look here, and then the fairy dust as well. So this is the original setting, and Frank, just pop the Nebula graphic back over the top if you can. So you can see here how the colors that I just showed you radiate out of the center of that star. You may have also seen alternate settings where people have chosen their own adventure or used line work to get a black and white look. We do stock all of the line work, so you would be able to choose that. And if you preferred to either make a smaller or larger version, we can totally put together a kit for you, or we can just have you help you cut it out in the store. We do have a ton of the different fabrics in stock for the true colors. I just want to remind you that while they may be moving around the store as we merchandise things a little bit differently, we are committed to stocking the true colors, the palms, the 10 stripes, the Tula solids for while they are reorderable basics. And so super excited to be able to stock those here. I think we're only out of one of the dots and one of the solids right now. Otherwise, we have everything completely in stock. And then we also have the line work if you had wanted to create either just the setting for this or a different project. That is a reorderable as well, and we do stock that. So I just wanted to get you up to date on that. I know we have, this is block 8. We're going to be sharing block 9 with you next month, and then we're going to be talking about setting. For those of you that are We Heart Tula Club members, we are going to be continuing through October, November, and December, and you will receive club packs as well. It's just going to be a choose your own adventure, so who knows what Julie's going to choose, but it's going to be in the true color variety, so you are assured that all of your fabrics are going to go together beautifully. Does anybody have any questions on the Nebula program or the Tula Pink, We Heart Tula Pink program so far? Just let me know. Tammy can hop in and let me know your questions so that we can address any issues that you have. So we are super excited. I got the invoice and the tracking information for a Holiday Homies flannel, which I'm super excited about. This is a reprise of a previous line of the original Holiday Homies. However, this time it's in flannel, and for those of you who have ever touched Free Spirit flannel, you know it is this really rich, luscious, soft, cozy, cuddly flannel. And Holiday Homies is really suited to be a flannel fabric. So Frank is going to pop up a picture of a quilt that we have, and club members, you are going to get a printout of this quilt in your packet, and Tammy is going to put up the PDF downloadable link that you can see it. And this particular quilt really celebrates the fabric. We don't have the fabric in stock quite yet, so I wasn't able to whip together a block for you. And what I love about this particular quilt is that the little chevrons there that are on point, that is 1/4 of the star. So it's a super simple pattern. I believe the digital download there makes it appear that you are piecing all of the stars in quadrants. However, the pattern is written such that those squares can celebrate the whole piece of fabric and you are not piecing those star centers. So larger piecing, simpler piecing work incredibly well when you are working with flannels. And look forward to seeing the fabrics, and we are going to whip up this sample and have kits for this quilt. So let us know if you are interested in having a kit of this quilt. Looking forward to a few additional Tula offerings. The unicorn poop and dragon's breath solids are still future releases, and yes, we have all of those on order, and we do have pre-cuts available that will be coming as well. So you can be assured, as Tula Club members, you will know as soon as they arrive, and we will be stocking those as well. I want to take a moment right now to kind of jump and talk about another Free Spirit program that we are just launching right now. So Tula and Kaif are Free Spirit friends, and the Gather No Moss Quilt Along by Kaif Fassett did start this week. And so what we thought we would do a little bit of tonight is do a little bit of sewing, because I know a lot of times in our general must sew Thursday nights, we don't do a lot of sewing, and I thought it could be fun. And with the rolling stone block being a simpler block, I thought that that is definitely one that we can tackle together, and that I am going to be able to do with a little bit more ease as we're talking live. The Nebula blocks are a little bit overwhelming to be stitching live with you, which is why we haven't been doing that along the way. But I thought, you know what, let's talk about some tips and tricks of piecing. And while it is a little bit of a different project, I think that we'll have some really great information for you. So let me hop over to the other side, and we are going to check out the rolling stone block of Gather No Moss. So now I'm over here at the sewing machine, and do we have us set up just right so that you can see me? Perfect. And what I want to just remind everybody is that before we start with a new project, I always want to remind you to get new needles. New project is always a great time to get a new pack of needles. Change out that needle on your machine. I'm sewing here with the Eversewn Sparrow 25, which is a great travel machine, a great beginner machine. I use the Microtex 7010s for my piecing, along with my Aurifil 50 weight thread. Now this color here, this 2615, I have available in both the large and small spool. If you've never tried Aurifil before and didn't want to commit, go ahead and pick up a small spool in a neutral color. You are going to love it, and you know what? If you don't, come back and I'll refund your money. Frank's sitting over there, what? But you are going to love it so much that you're not even going to want to bring it back. So you're just going to need all the Aurifil. And then after you've tried it, you are going to want to graduate to the large spools. Pretty much all I sew with at home are the neutrals, so your creams, whites, grays, beiges, black and white. Colors are great, but often I leave the colors to my decorative stitching and my quilting. As I'm prepping my fabric, my starch product of choice is the Quilter Starch Savvy, which is manufactured by June Taylor. It is a odorless, colorless product. I love that because one of the things that we want to make sure that we do with our fabric is make sure that we add as little as possible to it. And so by not adding a color to it, I think helps you preserve the beauty of that fabric. So I've gone ahead and I have pre-starched my fabric so that I can go ahead and be a little bit more productive in this. We're going to be making a rolling stone block. And let me show you here. So I can't give you all of the instructions. So can you even see? You probably can't see this here. Let's come over here to this overhead, Frank. Can we see it here? Is there a glare? Okay, can you put it on screen? awesome. We're too fancy with our technology here. Okay, so this is the pattern. This is the whole quilt. Let me see if I can just flip to a block to show you. Can you see this better? Down. Tammy's giving me a thumbs up, thumbs down-ish. So it's a simple block. We'll put it together. And if you think this is fun, you can join us along the way. Okay. Tammy just let me know that some people are having sound problems. Let me reposition this. I'm wearing a different shirt today. Okay, so is this a little bit better? It's all the fun of live. We never know what's going to happen. So are we crackling? I don't understand.
They said it was low. The sound was low.
Okay, Frank can up the volume then. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to cut some fabric. Yay, cut some fabric. And hopefully I'm not going to be too loud now. So we are going to start with 3 beautiful pieces of fabric. We're going to cut a center square, and we are going to cut some other pieces. So for the center square here, look at this beautiful piece. We are going to fussy cut. So if you buy a kit, oftentimes there isn't necessarily enough fabric to fussy cut. So a few of our customers who are doing this quilt along have gone ahead and have supplemented either from their stash or by buying additional yardage. And one of the things that I always encourage with any group quilt project that you're working on is make it your own. So I had taken a beautiful Block of the Month program years ago from one of my dear instructors, and she always, Phyllis, she told me that for every single quilt that she made, she always added a bunny fabric. So it's very interesting to see the different signature pieces. Before the store, I always made sure to put a crazy pieced block in where there should have been a solid piece of fabric. So I'd be curious to see what your individual signature items are as you're going to do it. So let me go ahead and I'm going to open this up, and I'm just going to fussy cut something. And when I'm fussy cutting, you can either use a square that is exactly the size. However, if you've watched a lot of my different programs, I always think that we should have less acrylic and more fabric. So I don't have personally templates of every single size. So I like to use the different rulers that I have. I'm going to cut a square here. Okay, so I'm going to cut a square here, and let me see. Okay, so I'm cutting a square. I'm not giving away the secrets of the pattern here. It's a relatively simple pattern, and I'm sure you could make something similar if you were inspired. I just want to have some of the pretty flower part here. I want this is going to be my center square. So I want this to be my center motif. Okay. And one of the things that helps a lot as well if you're working with fussy cutting is having a rotating mat. Now you would think that the quilt shop owner has everything, but you know what? I don't. And having a small mat, you can turn around, or you could have a spinny mat, or you could just move the fabric. So this is going to be my center block. What do you think? Is that pretty? So you can see here how you could get different elements from this particular piece of fabric. I just grabbed this, but you could go here. You could get more negative space and have it be more orange. Okay. And then I'm going to pair it with these two fabrics. So Cave is really, really bold in his coloring. And I am going to cut some 2.5-inch strips here. Color of green. Okay, that's green. My little note to myself. So when I cut strips, what I do is I take my fabric, I have pre-starched this, and you can see here that I fold it up. So when I make my initial cuts, I don't like to work with the fabric being the whole width of the acrylic ruler. I like to work with the smallest amount of fabric under the smallest amount of acrylic because I don't want to have the slip. So I'm going to line up on one of my marks here. So I have a, what do we call this? Horizontal line. I'm going to have a horizontal line and I'm going to line it up on my fold. That should be a trivia question today. What is this direction called? No, that's not a trivia question today. Okay, so I'm going to cut and then we're going to rotate this and I'm going to cut a strip that will then subcut. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut 2 strips. So when I cut 2 strips, so this is a fun fact, okay? When you're cutting, every 3 cuts, you want to make a straight cut, okay? So if I'm cutting small strips, what I'm going to do in order to make more cuts before I have to straight, I'm going to add, and I know it's like 7 o'clock and you're like, Julie, what are you doing to me? Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take the width of 2 of those strips and we're going to mush them together, okay? So that I then can take advantage of 1 cut that I come back. So can you see this here? I don't know if you can or not. Not really? Okay, Frank says, let's come over here. Let's come over here. So I know this is a little crazy today because we just, as we were planning our program, we decided to add in a sewing component. So thank you so much for playing along with us. Okay, so I'm going to cut a wide strip, okay? And then, so this would be cut number 1, and then I'm going to back it up, which is half, okay? Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Okay, so that's what I do whenever I cut. To maximize my cutting, I cut multiples, come back, and so that way, if I'm cutting a longer piece of fabric, I wouldn't have to, I don't know. So, all right, so now I'm going to layer these together. I feel like I'm talking crazy. I think I need more coffee. So, I think the ladies were laughing at me today. They were telling me I needed to like switch to decaf. I think that that was like not a good idea. I didn't switch to decaf. Okay, so I made my straight cut. Now what we're going to do is I am going to do some cuts here. And you see here I have 2 strips stacked together. So I can cut lots. So does anybody sing to themselves while they sew or while they cut? I like to make noise. Sometimes I have even... Oh, yes. What question do we have?
Jody is wondering, how do you avoid the little curve in the fold when cutting?
Okay, so the question is, how do I avoid the curve in the V, okay? So there's 2 things that we can talk about here. So the first thing is when I press my fabric, I want to make sure that I have, so here this is a pretty close, can you see this here, or is it off the edge? It might be off the edge. Okay, so here we go. So these are aligned parallel to each other, okay? So I made sure, we skipped a step of pressing where it lays straight and my selvages are parallel or equal to each other. But the fail-safe way of doing this is to start cutting. Did you see how we started from our selvage edge when we made our straight edge, cut over, and then I'm cutting, and I'm not going to be using my center V as even a part. Okay, so I'm not even using this part. Okay, this is just going away. If I was making more blocks, I would use more of it, but I definitely avoid that V so that I don't have to worry about that as a problem at all. Did that answer your question? Are there any other questions with our piecing, or I'm sorry, with our cutting technique so far? Okay.
No.
All right.
Cindy says that she does not sing for herself because she is way too busy concentrating.
Oh my goodness. Do you know what is even better? Is that when you have a pet, what do you call it? Stuffed animal by you, and they start singing with you. That is the best. Maybe then I've had too much coffee. So do you know what's really fun? Okay, so I have a thing with the count from Sesame Street, just, I don't know, because. And so this is kind of fun. And so I shouldn't even tell you this, but I will. So we had my count, he counts along with me. So like when we're doing something, he'll say one, ah, ah, ah. And when I do that, sometimes he even has his own voice, and it's pretty exciting. And then when we have hit our large numbers, sometimes the lightning even flickers in the room. Okay, so you all think I'm crazy, I know. Oops, 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 oops. Baby shark, okay. Let's see. So did you see how I slid see, even I slide sometimes, but it was not an irrecoverable slide, but that is why Cindy said you do need to concentrate. So that is a true statement. Should concentrate. Okay. So let us come this way. Come this way. Straight cut there. Oops, did I not get my selvage? See, real life. Now Lisa does it where she uses the 2 rollers for that straight edge, but I just use one and keep flipping my mat back and forth because I don't have a giant mat that sits. Okay, so almost, and then we'll be able to have some fun piecing away, which is the most exciting part, right? Very exciting. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so now we are going to go over to the sewing machine. Let's see, do I have everything here? I think so. I think so. We were talking about seam rippers before we went live today, and we're currently out of stock because, well, some things still aren't in stock completely everywhere in the world. This is my favorite seam ripper. We have some on the way. Frank's giving me the dirty look because we can't sell any to at this instant. There's lots of, but I just want to let you know this is my favorite, and we will have some more in stock. It is something we normally carry. Seam rippers do wear out just like pins and needles. So if you're having a very torturous time unsewing, go ahead and whether it's this brand or a different brand, treat yourself to a new seam ripper. Okay. So what we're going to do is that we are going to make some square in the square units. So what we're going to do is we are going to take a square and put it on top of this right here. and we're going to sew point to point. So if I were really good, what I would do is I would use my quick quarter ruler, which is right here, da, 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 and my Sew Line ceramic lead pencil, and I would put my ruler on and draw my line on all of my squares, just like that. We're going to do that for a couple of them, and then we're kind of going to go for it. I know, it's horrible. And I have the wrong foot on for this, so just bear with me for 1 second. I apologize that I set up the wrong foot. Probably should. So I'm actually going to just use my flat foot right now. Maybe, maybe not. We'll use this foot. We'll use the foot that I wasn't going to use. We're going to make it happen. So I have my foot that has the edge on it, and I don't need my edge when I'm not going to be doing that. The other way you could do it is you could cut off the edge if you'd like. And when I stitch this, we're going to raise this up just a little bit because we're going to sew while we're standing up. We can chain stitch these. So I'm going to be making 4 of these units, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to layer these on top, and we're just going to just like that, okay? See, all sorts of sound effects, okay? So let's see. Needle down. And any other questions, any comments? Not really. All right. So when I chain, oh, baby shark, do 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 do. So I don't know if there's any copyright infringement. So like maybe I don't want Facebook to kick me off today of our live recording here for. And 2 more. So I like to be efficient. If you want to be more purposeful in your piecing, you absolutely can. I'm showing you bad habits. I totally should be drawing the lines, but that's no fun. Because do all of the things always happen in real life? So what I recommend to you is that if you are trying a shortcut, you can try it on a sample block beforehand and see how it goes. And then you can make the determination of if you want to cheat, okay? So what we can do is I have 4 of them set up. And as I fold them over, okay, you can see because we're putting it on connector corner style, you want to get rid of this back. Okay, so we're going to hop back over there so we can cut them off. And we are going to use a smaller ruler than this. Maybe, maybe not. So we are going to use handy dandy. This is my other favorite ruler here, is the Rotary Mate. I love it. It's just 3.5 inches wide, 12 inches long, can do all sorts of great things. So what we're going to do, line this up point to point, chop it off. I'm being bold. Bold. So, do you think I'll be able to make this block before 8 o'clock? What do you think? Maybe we need to show you show and tell in the interim. We'll get sewing a little bit farther, but then we'll figure out how to get this done while we're still talking to you. Okay, so.
Wants to know if we have the tool that cuts those chains.
I don't know. Do we have? We don't currently. Oh, sorry. I need to repeat the question. So the question that Lindy asked is, do we have the chain stitch separator, which is essentially a really nice contraption that holds a razor blade so that you can just. So we currently don't stock that. It's something that we're able to get. And if there's interest, let us know and we'll see what we can get. So I'm going to do opposite sides right now. Opposites. I can totally take another question.
Cindy said, I like using square on square paper. It helps me have correct size units. Have you ever used that?
Square on square for this? For the square in a square? Oh, so she wants to know, have I ever used a square on square paper? The one thing that I have in the store that we could probably use if we have it, do we have the Cluck Cluck Sew tape right now, Frank? Can you grab that for us so we can look at it? So there's a few different gadgets. So something like this, I probably wouldn't paper piece. I would be able to, if I was making a bunch of half square triangles, I would use triangle paper. But there is this really cool seam tape that you can lay on top. It's kind of like a washi tape that has markings on it that you then can stitch through, and that helps line things up. Just going to sew through this one more. Okay, so the product, the diagonal seam tape here, it's created by Cluck Cluck Sew, and she has a center as well as 1/4 inch. So you'd be able to place this on and then stitch on the red line. You would have to remove it after you're done with that. There are a ton of different things, and there are foundations like a triangle paper that you could use to do this. Let's go and trim these off. Now if anybody says, wow, I can't believe, so if it was a larger seam, I would absolutely draw my line. The longer this seam, the harder it is to hit it. Okay? And I have probably, as I said, I shouldn't be teaching you bad tricks here. So Tammy's sitting over there laughing that I'm teaching you the bad tricks. Okay, so here we are. Let's press it and go to the other side. A customer came in today and she was commenting on how Cape fabric is soft and has a little bit different feel to it, and she wanted to know what was the story behind it. So Cape fabric, the hand of it is actually his choice, and it is closer to maybe a voile, and that's really thin and drapey. And so it's a lot finer than some of your other fabrics, including the Tula prints that we have in store. So, and the reason why is that he likes the drape. So, and I'm not sure on this. I don't know if we have any Cape aficionados on the feed right now, but my guess is that a lot of his projects done by a lot of the Eliza, who is his piecer, and maybe some of the other designers that work closely with him do a lot of hand stitching, and so potentially maybe this is easier to hand stitch. I don't know. Okay, let's do 4 more. So how many of you chain piece like this, or do you just do one square in the square unit and then go to the next one, and one square in the square unit? And so we should probably figure out how to do a fancy pole one of these times. So that's next session, right? Next session, we're figuring out all of our, and we can't get too fancy here, because then we just don't even know where we are, and our microphones don't work, and all sorts of good stuff. Now, if you had yes, I am. So the question is, the pattern suggests that you use 50 weight Aurifil thread. And I always do all of my piecing with Aurifil 50 weight thread. Before I owned Patchworks, truth be told, I didn't think that there was a difference. And I didn't think that thread was worth investing in. After having all of the different threads at my disposal and being able to try a variety of different things from different manufacturers, trying just a bunch of different stuff, I seriously only piece with Aurifil unless if there literally is nothing else available. It just melts into my fabric and it does not add any bulk. It also is virtually lint-free, and so I love, love, love it. And I, as I said, almost exclusively use the neutral colors for piecing. Today I'm using a gray.
Everyone who responded said they can piece whenever possible.
Perfect. We're going to go and cut these off. All right. Da-da-da. We'll see how I'm doing. You can see a little bit of the red there. Oh, hopefully it's all right. This is a exercise in bravery today. Bold bravery. One thing that I do want to say, even if I'm talking about shortcuts of not drawing lines, when I am cutting, always, always, always cut away from yourself. And do you notice how even I'm working by myself and I always click back on, okay? Really important. We don't need to talk about the safety again of our rotary blades. Just always be safe. Always have reminders. So see, this is just coming together super quick, super quick. So if you are, so how many of you that are watching tonight participating officially in the Gather No Moss? Is anybody on today that is in that too? But I know for however many watching, everybody wants to join. They're like, we must join all of the things, Julie. All of the things. So the other big thing, so we're going to put that last corner on, and then we'll be able to sew our strips together so that we have those middle units, and then we can quickly assemble the block. Huh, how cool is that? So speaking of free spirit, Scott Fortunoff, who is the president of Jaftex, and Jaftex is the parent company that owns Free Spirit and Henry Glass and Blank and Studio E, and I should know them all on the top of my head, but I don't. He has issued the 4th shop challenge for making our videos during the month of August. So I am going to be doing a shop video that I need all of you to watch and share, because this is super exciting. The person with the most views is going to win a visit from him. So that's super fun. And you know, like if he comes, that he's going to bring lots of prizes and presents for everybody. So we totally need to win. So we have that in the plans for early next week. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Let's trim off the edges. So Cave is so bold with his fabric choices. I chose for the fabric combination, one of the fabric combinations that was chosen officially on the cover, but one of the things that we were talking about in the beginning of the program is making a quilt your own. So you don't always have to choose exactly what the designer or person on the cover had intended for the fabrics. Mix it up. You want to make sure that you are still staying within the confines of the fabric that's being shared with you, but if you wanted to, you can make two different fabrics go together than what was shown on the cover. Dun, dun, dun. So now I have 4 of my corners together. All right, now we're going to put these guys together. Super simple. I'm just going to put my right sides together, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch. And I have these little strip blocks, and hopefully I cut them right. All right, so we're going to chain piece these. So in a future video, we'll talk about doing what's called leaders and enders, and that's a fancy thing of making essentially 2 quilts at once so that you never start with just a naked fabric or naked thread at the beginning or end. So there's always something under the needle. Do any of you quilt with what is called leaders and enders? Okay. 2 more. And then we can put it all together. So the point of this particular quilt is actually just having fun with the process. It's not a crazy skill builder like we have with Nebula, where there's a lot of intense angles and different geometries that we need to worry about. We just here have some basic shapes. We're playing with color. We're playing with putting things together. We're playing with rhythm. We're playing with getting things done. When you have rhythm, it can have a meditative quality to it. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why we like sewing so much and quilting, is that we can just, you know, become zen with it. And, you know, working with this color combination, so you all know me a little bit. You know that I don't necessarily play with these bold colors with such stark contrast. And so this is an excellent exercise when someone gives you permission to play outside the lines and do something entirely different. Okay, now you see I'm also pressing my seams open because I'm crazy. So what we're going to do now is that we are going to hop over on the overhead, and I'm going to show you how this block is going to come together. Let's see if I did this right.
Lots of people say they use leaders and enders.
Okay, lots of people use leaders and enders. Oh, what did I do? This is wrong.
Diane said it gives her super nice edges.
Super nice edges. Okay, so this may or may not be what it was supposed to be like. So I'm just going to cut down my center square just because. So always read the instructions, okay? So always read the instructions. I'm going to cut down the center square. It's probably not going to quite be how it's supposed to be, but we get the general gist of it. And so now no one can accuse me of giving away the actual secrets of this pattern, right? Because clearly I had it wrong, okay? Live television, folks. Live. So, you know what? As you're playing, let's just say you did something like this. So this is number 1, why you make a test block. Then number 2, if you have something like this happen where it's not exactly what you had planned, do you know what? You get to learn something, okay? Oh, look at that. Isn't that fun? Okay, so now that we have this together, we are going to put it together in 9-patch fashion. And what I like to do, I'm going to show you this. We're going to sew this row together, and I'm going to leave it chained, okay? So hop back over here. Always fun. Uh-oh. I think I hear laughing over there by Tammy.
Deb says, Julie, always read the pattern.
Yes, Deb, that is, so Deb is saying, Julie, always read the pattern. That is a true statement. So it was a little bit of a stress between reading the pattern and not getting in trouble from the folks who are, why am I saying folks so much today? I don't know. Because I'm from Midwest. Okay, so is the not getting stressed out about giving away the secrets of the pattern. Because it was, since this is not a free and downloadable pattern, there was big stress behind how much I could really show you. So this way I didn't reveal a single thing. We're just showing the general concept. Don't you like that? Spin, spin. Can you tell I have a degree in marketing? So, all right, so now, instead of cutting apart, let's come over here. Instead of cutting apart our chain, right now we're going to leave it whole, okay? Da 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 da. Hoo hoo hoo.
So Cindy said she always has to use pins.
Yeah, pins are a really good idea. Pins are a really good idea. So, Tammy's just laughing. I'm just looking at the clock and I know that we're running a little long, so that's why we are just going a little quick. And probably people are fine with us going over. I just feel bad for having you hang on a little longer than normal. So back here. And so where we would pin, when we would pin, doing good things, we would take out our trusty pins, and we'd want to make sure that our center's matched. So what I do is I do come in at the V, go through my center here, and come in. Now this one here, you can simply pin on both edges. Tammy's laughing again. That's never a good sign. It's
Tula said she never starches and she never pins, but her stuff turns out great.
Oh, Kayla, I love you. Kayla just says that she never pins and never starches. So that's fabulous. I like to come in somewhere in between. And, you know, I actually, in real life, I do pin. I typically have 3 pins by me all the time, which I know sounds pretty random, but I pin centers and edges. Like in Nebula, I pin all the time. And in piecier blocks. This is a PC block once we're getting to this edge. Okay, so now we're going to head back over here. Now, when we are working with our pins, the one thing we want to make sure that we do, and so thank you, Cindy, for calling me out and making sure that I'm not just totally killing all the things. And I know Lisa is probably sitting at home saying, Julie, what are you doing? You are just unteaching all of the skills that I've painstakingly taught all these quilters over the years. So what you saw here, that I pulled the pin. You don't want to sew over your pins, okay? That's really, really important. If a pin shatters, not only is it harmful for your machine, but more importantly, the pin shatter can get into your eye. And even if you wear glasses, sometimes you can have it go outside of your glasses. I had accidentally, I didn't know that I was sewing over a pin and it had actually even hopped under my glasses. Fortunately, my eye was fine, but I did have to, it did cause me a moment of pause. All right, so my favorite pins are not these pins. These are what happen to be in the, my favorite pins are a very fine glass head pin by Clover, and I showed them in a different presentation there in our workstation downstairs. I'll make sure to pull them up to show you next time. Okay, we're going to hop over there. Okay, let's open this up here so that you can see it. I need to open this up for you here. Okay, so, dun, 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 dun. Well, apparently I didn't pin very well here. Oh, no, I did. So this is what's really interesting about this is that this fabric is so crazy busy that you can hardly see it. So you know what? It hides anything. It's fabulous. Okay, so clearly this rolling stone block isn't exactly as intended. What we're going to do too is give you an iron. So we're going to iron this, and I'm going to show you how I iron it. Let's actually iron over here. We're going to iron over underneath the overhead. Okay, Frank? And Frank grabbed us all of the things. And I know if Jill from June Taylor's watching, she's going to cringe again because she always hates it when I use the bad square and blocker. That's all right. You know, not all of the tools that we have are perfect and right. They're usable. So when we press, we're going to tuck, if you're not going to press in, we're going to tuck these in, these out, and those in. But I always like to press from on top. So we're going to go here, okay, here. Now these are connected, which makes it a little trickier, right? And so then to have them nest, we're going to go in. Then in. Nope, out. In, out. In, out. Real life, real life. If I was looking up at Frank, he would have told me. But I wasn't listening. I didn't see him wave me to tell me out. Okay. And then we're going to go in, right? So in, out. And I'll show you on the reverse side what that looks like. Okay. So on the reverse side, because we did this once, we'll just go over it again. So on these little rails, I like to press them open. These were our square and a square blocks that we made connector style. And then we're going in, out, in. And what happens, and see with these little connector guys, what's really nice is that it helps us stay aligned. And so it takes the place of little bit of our pinning. So we're going to get our pins to be able to show you. I'll pin it and then I'll show you the pins that I like to use. Okay, so we're going to go, so that's lined up there, right? Make sure that we will make sure though that we pin where it nests. We pin at the intersection here to make sure that this guy here comes through. Back here. Nope. A little bit over. Da, da, da. There you go. Okay. So I like to press everything open. So for joining the rows together and the ease of this, and this is more conventional, I did the out-in thing, but otherwise at home on the back of most of my things, I do press open. And by pressing open, when we were originally taught to quilt back when quilting came back into fashion in the 70s and 80s and early 90s, we were often finishing quilts by stitching in the ditch. Stitching in the ditch perforates your seams if you press them open, so you always would press them to one side. Now the fashion is to long arm quilt them quite densely with all over pantographs. And so you are able to press open to minimize your bulk, and you don't need to worry about your quilts falling apart because we are very rarely stitching in the ditch. So if you are stitching in the ditch, please, please, please do not press your seams open. But if you are not, feel free to press however you like. Okay, so pins, before we go back and sew, the pins that we currently have in stock are these, and the one that I like to use, I was going to say, or not, no, it's this one. This is the glass, right? Yeah, these are glass. I forgot that they were two different colors. It is the Clover 2509 quilting pins, fine. 100 pins in the little box here, and they have both orange and green head, so 50 of each. You could use them as a left and a right or top and bottom if you prefer. And I like how they're nice and long and a small head. Another one is the patchwork pin. This one's a little bit of a shorter pin, but I like the long. The silks have a larger head, and I like the nice small head. A flower head pin is also very nice. I like the ones that are a little bit thinner, but the flower head pin is nice and flat. I do like, though, when I can iron over a pin, and so the glass head pin you're able to iron over. Whew! Oh, glass head. So, and then these here, these quilting pens with the plastic, these are really, it says heat resistant, can be ironed, which is great. These are a little bit, these are fine. These are a little bit thicker, and the balls are a little bit larger. But there are no rules, so if you prefer a different pin, by all means, use them. Okay, let's go and finish our block. Whew, this is exciting. This is exciting. 2 more seams, 2 more seams. So I'm using today a foot that has the edge on the 1/4 inch. What is a really good tip if you are starting a new project or switching machines is to always do a 1/4 inch test. And that's making sure you know where the 1/4 inch is on your machine. So take 2 strips of fabric, 2 1.5 inch strips of fabric, sew them together, press them, and it should measure 2.5. A really great thing is actually doing a 3rd strip to it. And the reason why you do that 3rd strip is that sometimes if you are pretty close, but you're not, but you're still, if it's not obvious, sometimes it becomes a little bit more obvious if you're off by adding that additional strip. Ta-da. 1 more seam, 1 more seam. And we're going to go ahead, and Cindy, just for you, we are going to pin. I was going to wing it. Tammy said, I thought you were going to wing it, and I was, but you know, sometimes I didn't want to show you how to perfect your unsewing skills tonight. So even though this isn't quite the right size, I still want to show that I can sew a block together. Okay, but I only did 2 pins where the where those intersections really matter. And because I have those those jump stitches that are holding, that are kind of acting like pins. Does that make sense? So we're pinning where it matters. So while I'm finishing this up, have I done, trivia questions? I haven't done trivia questions yet. We haven't done show and tell either. So what, oh, I should have pinned more. Okay, that's all right, we're just going for it. I have to redo the block anyhow because it's not the right size. So trivia question. What is the name of the parent company of Free Spirit? I talked about it earlier today. It's the company that Scott Fortunoff owns. They own Free Spirit and Henry Glass and Blank Quilting and Studio E. We're going to press this. Was that too hard of a question? Oh, we already have an answer. All right. Yay. So, and very good. So the winner of that, we have a really awesome, I'm going to press these down as well because we have a lot of bulk. Okay, we're going to press these down. If we're not pressing them open, we're going to press them down. So you are going to get a little pack, and I can even show you, of Tula fabric, little kit leftovers that we have. Dun, dun, dun. So, what do you think? It's not quite the right scale, but wasn't that fun? Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. What do you think? Does that look like fun? All right, so the next trivia question that we have for you is, what size? So trivia question number 1 gets this. Trivia question number 2 is, what is the default size that the Nebula quilt is going to finish to? So it was the default size that we had bagged up as the quilt finishing kit. Ooh. So I'm not looking for dimensions. I'm looking for, is it a twin, a double, a queen, or a king? Ooh. Or you could say all of the above. I don't know. No, there was one specific one I'm looking for. And a third question is, let's see, what's a third question? The third question is, since we are all GF techs all the time, I just have to show you before we hop into show and tell, is we have, from Henry Glass, some new Nomies. We have new Nomies. So these are Nomies all year round. That's probably not the name of them, but look at them. So we have 12 different gnomes. Look at that. It's so cool. Let's look overhead, Frank. Okay, so we have January, February, March, April. I mean, look at these bunny ears. How ridiculous. April, May, June, right? July, August, September. Oh, Scarecrow know me. This is my favorite. Halloween, October, November, December. So we have that panel. We have tossed gnomes. We have where they live. And then we have a really cool floral coordinate. So this is called Gnome for the Holidays. What Jeff Tech's company manufactures this print? Do, 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 do. Okay, so what we need to do now. Oh, what's the prize? What's the prize? It is a third. It's a third one of these ones. I mixed them up as to which one was which. Oh, man. Well, this one here, this one is for number 2. So we'll say this one is for number 3. So number 1, number 2, number 3. Oh. So this is for number 3. Okay. So I'm just being all crazy now. We're going to take a moment before we sign off tonight to make sure we can look at some of the amazing stuff that you have been doing. Let me move this here so that we have a nice spot. And we want to make sure that you join us in our Patchworks Party, which is our Facebook group where we can share our show and tell with one another. I'm going to hop over by Frank so that I can describe to you some details about some of the show and tell that we have seen. So Frank, why don't we pull up the first show and tell? All right, so the first show and tell, oh, Jackie. So Jackie sent this, and Jackie is a member of our We Heart Tula Pink Club, and she is making spectacular progress. She has made the finishing, and she's just missing 4 blocks, the 8th and the 9th diamonds. Oh, great job, Jackie. Congratulations on your progress. That's so beautiful. Diane has been keeping up, and this is her block, I believe, block 7. Roberta, she has been working, and you can see in the background, no, I did not pay her for this. So she went ahead and she got the Cape Flannel design wall, and she has her Nebula blocks displayed beautifully here. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I love how that Cape gray flannel grid works really well for you. Then Lisa has a variety of different looks at a giant bag that she made. So this is the inside of her bag. This is a side view of her big Tula bag, and then this one here, this third view. Oh, so this is the front of it, and look at that. Isn't that great? So this is a giant bag that you can put in your cutting mat as well as your large strip rulers. Go around, walk around, and carry them to a retreat. Here's another look of the inside. This is probably the other side of the inside. And then let me see if there is one other view I thought we had. And this is her back of that same bag. So you can see she has 2 different views. So that's her back pocket. So thanks so much, Lisa, for showing us all of the different views of that. And here, I didn't have it together. This is another one of Diane's blocks that she has. So thank you, Diane, and I definitely see that you are keeping up. Now we have a special treat. So one of our great customers who goes by the tag name of Shayna Liz has put together this really awesome cushion cover, and with Curiouser and Curiouser. So she has the queen on one side and then Alice on the other. Or this is a separate project, but they are both beautiful cushions. They're gorgeous. I love how you have really featured the focus piece, and that bias binding is just spectacular. Great, great job. If so, Tammy wanted me to let you know that some of you have been super excited about the Know Me stuff, and she is collecting your names, and we will call you tomorrow. Is that what we said? Yeah. We will call you tomorrow to let you know, and then of course you are able to come in to buy as well, but we will call you to be able to arrange for any orders that you have, for either to hold until you're able to come into the store or to ship out. Before we do our drawing for our show and tell, I do want to let you know that we have been adding even more, I know, even more to our clearance event. So we've been getting all sorts of amazing fabric, including, dun, 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 what's behind the curtain. So we have a little bit of space behind the curtain, but see, I promised you, this is just part of our Tula backup here. Lots and lots of Tula. We have the Tim Holtz Christmas time. We're not going to go through all of the fabrics in this particular one. We'll have a different viewing where we show you all of our different arrivals, but we have the Tim Holtz Christmas time whole line, super cool. That's a Free Spirit fabric line. And then in the Studio E, which is also a Jaff Tex company, we have the Honeybee Nomies. More Nomies. So these here, we have the His and Her gnomes. Then we have the tossed gnomes here. Or not tossed. This pattern. And then a great B coordinate. Okay. So lots of other really great fabrics, but I just wanted to show you the gnomes and the Tim Holtz because people have been asking for them. And as you can see with the gnomes, I've been trying to order as many gnomes as possible because I know so many of you adore the gnomes, and we want to make sure that we can help fill your gnome needs. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to do our show and tell drawing. So, thank you so much to our participants. And one of you is going to get, oh, what are you going to get? Dun, dun, dun. You're going to get something amazing. You're going to get another pack that is very similar to this. We're going to make up a 4th pack for you. So think lucky, hold your fingers and thumbs, and the winner is of our show and tell drawing is Shayna Liz. Congratulations on your winnings, and your prize will be available for pickup in store. If you haven't joined us already on our Facebook group, please go ahead and push that join Facebook group for Patchwork Party, so you can show your show and tell, and always make sure to join us every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for Must Sew TV, because you never know what we're going to talk about, what we might sew up, or what you might learn about Julie, or what we might sing. Thanks for joining us tonight. We had a lot of fun with you. I hope you had fun with us. Happy quilting, and we'll see you soon.